Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us for today's RecruitMilitary Live episode. In case you happen to miss last month's episode, you may not recognize these two faces, but allow us to reintroduce ourselves. My name is Gabby. I was a 10-year Marine Corps veteran, and I was in the public affairs, marketing, and photojournalism field. And I also happen to serve with this amazing co-host of mine.
Hey, my name is Raul, and I'm also a public affairs Marine, served for 5 years. And I was also a marketing Marine like Gabby. I feel like I followed in your footsteps there.
It's a popular
right? And today, it's funny. Today, I see you're wearing your sergeant's course shirt.
Right? Schoolhouse. Representing today.
I don't know if we have any Marines watching that maybe went to 1st Battalion in boot camp. But today I felt like it was a special episode to wear, again, my 1st Battalion Marine Corps boot camp hoodie, just to remind myself I'm still a boot in certain things, right? I'm still a beginner, especially with today's topic, resumes.
Exactly. And we want to preface this. Today is going to be Resumes 101. And we would definitely want to preface this by saying we are in no way resume experts. Aloha to you. Also, thank you, Aaron, for the shout out. Go Arizona. We are not experts. We are not subject matter experts by any means, but what we do want to relay is our experience. You know, we've gone through this. We've gone through the gripes, the groans, the complaints, the lessons learned about resume, and we want you to know that you're not alone, and convey that to you guys.
Exactly. We want to convey we have been there. We've transitioned ourselves, right? I transitioned out in January of 21, and we just want to share our experiences in regards to resumes, what resources we may have used back then, and like what exists now, what we can offer today. So that's why we're here.
Perfect. And thank you guys, everyone. We love seeing all the Marine Semper Fi, Felix Severino, 20-year gunny right there. Semper Fi, hoorah. We love our gunnies. We love our gunnies. So yeah, we want to preface this also. If you guys have questions, please feel free to drop those in the chat as we go along, as we sit here and just calmly discuss what our experiences are, what suggestions and tips we have just based off of our past with changing resumes, transitioning out of the military, and getting a civilian position in what we love to do and what we focused on doing while in the service as well, and how that transitioned to a civilian resume. So please, whether you have questions at the end, we will be saving about 5-10 minutes towards the end of today just to address all questions we may have missed during the chat, and we may address them in the chat as well. What about docs? We love our docs. Oh, we love our corpsmen. Go Navy.
Yeah, we do.
Go Navy. We wouldn't be anywhere without our corpsmen, right? So Hoo-yah to you guys, right? Hoo-yah.
Yeah. Well, getting right into the resume piece, one thing that I learned early on in my transition is that one resume doesn't check the box for every single job description, right? So it's not a one size fits all. It's not a check in the box. It's not something that you finish because you need it to like pass TAP during your transition. It's actually something that you keep working on every single time you apply for a job, right? So the first thing I would recommend doing, this is something that I did, and again, I learned this very early on, is that you need to target that resume to every single job posting, right? And I'll say that again, you need to target that resume to every single job posting. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I learned because after just rounds and rounds of pushing my resume out there, and maybe not even knowing anyone at the company that I was applying for, I kind of learned quick, like, hey, maybe my resume should look somewhat like that job description and maybe like that company's mission statement, so I can get somewhere with it.
Exactly. I feel like we all know the term spray and pray, when you're just shooting down range and just hoping it hits the target. You're just like, hey, just give me one good shot. Give me one good bullseye. And I feel like we've all had time in our transition process and when we're job searching is just same general resume with all of your general accomplishments and your general summary, and just sending it down to every online job board you can find, every interviewer you go to, just sending the same one out. And you're kind of sitting there a week, 2 weeks, a month goes by, and you're like, man, like I haven't been getting, any real like traction on this. Why?
Yeah.
And it's just as Raul said, the importance of tailoring that resume to the job description, to the company's mission statement, to what their purpose is, and that could make the world of difference.
Yeah, and another good point to kind of get behind that targeting is connecting with a veteran or someone that you have as a mutual friend on LinkedIn, preferably a veteran, right? But this is something that I did early on. With the very first job description that comes to mind is I was transitioning out of Maryland. I was in Baltimore, and a big company out there is Under Armour, right? And I just so happened to like meet someone, not a veteran, but with my time at Recruiting Station Baltimore, I was in the community, and one of the poolies, I met their parents, and one of them worked for Under Armour. And immediately after I saw that marketing position that I was trying to break into, after transitioning from the Marines, immediately I knew, hey, maybe I should reach out to this individual, put him down in my in the job description or in the application itself, where it says, hey, do you know someone that works in this company? I absolutely do. So it makes the world a difference if you can connect to that individual, prior to, maybe establish that connection, and make sure, that you're on the same page about when you're applying and what position you're applying for. And again, being a veteran or connecting with a veteran within that organization really, really helps out. Gabby, I don't know if you have like any experiences like that.
I mean, I'm sitting here because of that specific experience. Again, that we covered, that was our first episode together last week, was the power of networking. And it really speaks for itself. I'm only here in my position as a communications representative with RecruitMilitary because I was job searching after my last contract ended, and I was updating my resume, and I was like, you know what, I should also update my LinkedIn that I haven't touched in 5 years. So because I haven't really needed to. So I went on there, updated everything, updated a profile picture, uploaded my resume to LinkedIn. And as I was scrolling down just my timeline, I'd seen Raul post the position for this position. This was a brand new position to the company. And I don't know about anyone else out there, I suffer from huge imposter syndrome. He already had like so much interaction and engagement on the post. And I was like, I feel like I pale in comparison to these people, but I'm going to shoot my shot anyways. What's the worst that could happen? They say no, right? And because I kept that connection, I mean, Raul and I were all like already connected. We served at my last duty station together for just like 2 years or so. He's like a brother to me. So we already were like maintaining in contact. It had been about a year we spoke, but us military folk, you get us, we haven't seen each other in 10 years. You get us in a room for 10 minutes and we'll catch up on all that missed time. But I'd seen it. I didn't even tell him that I was going to apply for the job. I just saw it and I was like, click the link and sent in my resume, and thankfully got a call back, and here I am. But it's that networking, right? That continuing to build your network, to build your connections with people, to maintain the connections that you've already made, because one, it's just a fun aspect of life, keeping in contact with your old buddies, but also you never know how you guys can serve each other and help each other along the way, because we go through hills and valleys along our transition process, and even years after we've transitioned, it's never just right. You're always going to have hills and valleys. So keeping those connections alive and that networking alive can make the world of difference.
Yeah. And Gabby, just to further expand on that point, I mean, if you have a resume and you've targeted to this company, who better to lean on, right, than that veteran that's in that organization to kind of give you some pointers in regards to like, hey, you're on the right track, or hey, maybe add some phrases, maybe add some extra jargon, maybe some extra words on there that we can relate to, which brings me to my next point. industry mentors is someone you can heavily rely on to kind of work, massage through your resume, whatever you've already got. This is something that I did personally, and we'll talk about, or I'll mention those later on in today's episode. But that's something that you may want to look at, especially if you're breaking into another sector, another industry outside of your main MOS after you transition out, right? If you have an industry mentor, it just makes sense to reach out to them with the job description, to the job posting, the job listing that you applied for, and B, your resume, right? Because they know the industry that you haven't been a part of yet. You're still learning.
Yep.
So it just makes sense to push your resume, make sure that they see it before you send it out, into the ether. So.
Exactly. No, you hit it right on the nose. That'd be like, for instance, we work in social media. One of my main tasks is managing our social media platforms. And, you could work in social media for 10 years straight and then maybe take a 3-month hiatus, or like your job search takes 3 months. And so you're applying for a social media manager position. Well, those 3 months could have changed a lot in the they probably would have changed in the social media game. There could be a completely new app out there that you don't know about. So doing just that, finding a mentor within that specific industry that you're looking to find to further your career in, or start a new career in a new industry, finding that mentor who's in the game now, knows the rules, knows the regulations, knows the cheat codes, and can help you out, give you that advice, give you that edge that you may need, that sets you up to above the bar than anyone else.
Exactly. And the last point on there is, when you network, it improves your net worth, right? Whether you're just transitioning out, or you're already a veteran and you're just looking for that next job, make sure to keep in contact with everyone. Don't burn any bridges on the way out, because it can cost you monetarily, in the future. So keep that in mind as well.
No, that's a good key phrase to remember. I've never heard that. Your network can affect your net worth. So that's gonna stick with me for sure.
Right.
But today, I know we've touched on a few of these things, but our 3 main actionable items today that we wanted to focus on, or our 3 main areas we wanted to focus on. First one would be, and I'm sure you've all heard this, is quantify your accomplishments. And I was talking to Raul earlier today, just going over, what we wanted to discuss today. And I was like, you know what it is? It's a fitness report. It's a fitness. And if anyone is not familiar, that's what we call our like evaluation reports that we get twice to annually. Was it annually? I think it was annually. Well, we call it a fit rep, a fitness report, evaluation report, something that says, oh, this person in this rank in this billet is doing this. Like, this is their PT scores, this is their range scores, what it is. And then this is how they're performing in their job description. And what it is, you have to put all your accomplishments within that time period. But what I remember most about those fitness reports was quantifying whatever accomplishments fell within my job description. So I'm in charge of these things, but where is the value? So I completed, this many projects as a project manager. Okay, how many was that? And what was the effect? What was like the monetary value of that? Or, how many sales did you close? How many, whatever that quantifiable number is, you want that attached to your accomplishment, because as Raul was saying, like, money talks, numbers talk. That's what businesses are ran on, is numbers. And so if you supply them with that data, with those numbers that show you like, oh, this person's a rock star, like they did this and this amount of, like, this percentage of success rate, whatever that number is, attach that to your accomplishment, because that's what resonates off of your resume.
Absolutely.
Second one that I wanted to hit on, and this was, I actually learned a little kind of cool exercise to do with this. Our second one is, what makes you special? So on your resume, if it would just be just your description, your overall description of you as a person and you as your accomplishments in whatever career field it is, what about you on that resume speaks to the person that's receiving it? What's going to come off as special? And there was a webinar actually that we hosted Monday yesterday, with Monday with a phenomenal resume expert. And she had this exercise. She's like, I want you to do something. I want you to print out your resume and give it to someone, who's helping you out along the process, or even like a family, a friend. Doesn't have to be a resume expert. Give them your resume and give it to them for 15, 20, 30 seconds, and then snatch it back and then tell them or ask them, what do you remember from my resume? What stood out? What was it? Like, what was it that would have you remember me than anyone else? And you may get really good feedback, or you may have them tell you like, I don't really remember anything. There wasn't anything, it was just words. It was just a lot of words, a lot of filler words. And that's good. It's positive, it's constructive criticism. You're like, okay, so I need to beef up this part with some numbers, or I need to have like more buzzwords, or I need to go and, look at some applicant tracking system tool resource that can help you match whatever that job description is, whatever that mission statement is to that company, and then, add it to your resume to make it more relevant to the job description. But that exercise, I'm telling you, I learned about that. She mentioned that this past Monday, and I was like, that is an amazing tool, an amazing exercise. Like, please rip my resume apart. Tell me what the good, bad, and the ugly is of my resume. So that way, that first impression when someone reads your resume, whether it's, online, in person, whatever it is, that's the first impression of you. Like, how can you represent yourself and all the goodness and all the accomplishments and all your work ethic and all your experience effectively on paper, so that person's like, man, that she stands out or he stands out. Though this is the most amazing resume I've ever seen. Represent yourself on paper, bleed onto that paper your passion, and brag about yourself. What makes you special? So that was number 2.
Yeah. And I mean, what makes you special to who, right?
Exactly.
Who's the most important person to be memorable to? Probably the person like going over your resume, deciding whether or not you get like that next interview. So absolutely the importance of matching a resume to the job description, which we were talking about before, this absolutely applies here, right? So maybe you put down the company's personal mission statement and you kind of weave that in there along with like words from the job listing itself. You're going to want to be memorable to the individual that's going to be on the other end of that application. And something you were talking about, Gabby, where we attended this fantastic webinar. I was on there as well. It's our own co-hosted, RecruitMilitary resume power hour, whatever you want to call it, of just straight resume talk preparation. And we do that with a facilitator named fantastic facilitator, Whitney Ortiz. And she's a career transition facilitator, right? And we host these webinars 2 to 3 times a month. And you can find them on recruitmilitary.com/event prep. The next one being, if for those of you that are interested in federal resume, we also cover those. So you'll be able to see the entire list. Again, that's recruitmilitary.com/event prep. Just make sure you go on there and check it out. Because 1, they're free. 2, Whitney hosts all of them with us. She's high energy.
Yeah.
She's motivating. She's not going to be talking to you from like a script or just reading something. She's asking the audience constantly, like, hey, is anyone transitioning to this industry? What industry are you transitioning from? That way she can use your example to kind of like guide her, like where she's going in order to help you specifically. So that's something I really wanted to bring up. It's really a Q&A throughout the workshop. Anything you want or any question you may have, you shout it out. She'll address it. Type it in. She's got you covered, and she really gets granular with the specifics. I mean, I learned something too, Gabby. I don't know about you, but I found out that the digits in my like personal email address that I guess I would have been using when I'm applying to all these jobs, like it had the wrong amount of digits, right? So she mentioned you want to stick to 1 or 3 instead of like 2 or 4. Mine has 4. And I challenge you all out there, if you have like 2 digits at the end of like your name, Like mine's is Raul Torres, digit. If you have something similar to that, I challenge you to go on recruitmilitary.com/event prep, get on and ask Whitney why that's important or why you shouldn't be doing things specifically like that. So I don't know if there's anything else like that you learned, but that was interesting to me.
There was so I joined to one because we're co-hosting and partnering in this in that seminar, but I joined to support and help facilitate it. I'm like, oh, I don't really need to update my resume right now. I'm happy where I am right now. So I had it in the background, was tuning in while I was continuing to work. And I must have stopped at least like 10, 15 times and really tuning into what she was saying. One, because she was so captivating, but two, she had so many resources, so many examples, and she was very engaged with the audience. So everyone and anyone that had questions, she was answering on the spot. She took the conversation to where the audience wanted it to go, but still went through an entire from top to bottom resume template that'll knock your socks off. So I didn't go in with any expectation of really learning anything. And I walked out with so many resources, so many tips and advice, and the cool exercises that both Raul and I mentioned during our live today. We heard those for the first time on Monday and resonated with us completely. And we're like, this is gold. This is all liquid gold. We need to make sure we pass this wisdom on to, our entire audience on our live. So no, she was amazing. And that's exactly it. I definitely, as Raul mentioned, I would suggest, even if you think your resume is perfect right now, I promise you, doing either of the lives, whether it's general or a federal resume, you will learn something that you can apply and change your resume now too. I don't even need to do my resume, but I want to now because I'm so motivated from Whitney's webinar on Monday. I don't need to, but I want to now. I have all these tools and assets at my fingertips. I'm gonna update my stuff here probably this week, just so that it doesn't leave my brain and I can apply it now and just have it in my back pocket.
Yeah, exactly. Everything down to the font. I was like, wait a minute. So Times New
Roman is a no-go, which I'm like, but it's an OG font.
And the best thing about it is she really backed up everything she mentioned. There was reasoning behind it. Okay, why is 2 or 4 digits not the best?
What it was is a science. She was breaking it down to the science and biology of resumes. This is what is industry standards now for resumes. This is what people are wanting to see. This is how what their summary is supposed to look like. This is how you're supposed to write out your experiences, a formula for how to bulletize your experiences. So we promise we are not overhyping this woman in these seminars. I tuned in and I was like, oh, this is just amazing information. So please go register. The entire calendar is there. The next one will be, I believe, the 24th of April, they will be focusing on federal resumes, which all could have, the use for a federal resume just to have that saved because it's completely different. But yeah, go register now.
Yeah. And I'll end with this. My biggest takeaway was similar to kind of yours, Gabby, where, there's an exercise that she mentioned where you print out and fold your resume in half, right? And hold it up to the job description and then hold up half of your resume next to it and ask yourself, would you hire yourself just looking at these two things, right? Because you got to think about, again, the other end of that job application and who's looking at it, right? So that's something that it didn't blow my mind, but it was something cool to think about. It just kind of puts you on track. If you're not there, if the top 15 to 30 seconds, like you were mentioning, Gabby, if it doesn't match up at the very top end of that resume, maybe you got to start over. Maybe you got to start asking that mentor, asking, industry specific, people that you're connected with on LinkedIn for help to connect those two. So that was my biggest takeaway. I thought that was pretty cool.
No, from top to bottom, she was a rock star. Every single piece of information she had had something to take away from. But so that just about wraps it up. Again, we want to leave you with some some 3 actionable items, I guess, at the end of our live?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the first one, again, I think we beat it up a lot, but you guys don't want to miss it. Whitney Ortiz is a beast. She has a lot of energy. She's definitely got me beat in that department. I mean, I don't drink coffee, so it's not a good bar to be comparing to, but she's really high energy. And again, she's not talking at you. She's literally with you in the room, making sure there's a connection there and that you're getting your questions answered. So again, that's at www.recruitmilitary.com/event prep.
And again, these are free resume seminar. Wow, can I talk? Webinars, seminars, and webinars. They're completely free to you. Free. The knowledge that you will get from this free resource is priceless. So please go.
Absolutely. And the second one would be remiss if we don't mention it is, going on our job board, right? Because that's where you're going to find job descriptions and job listings that are catered to who? The military community, right? To my audience, to our audience today. It just makes sense to go on there and maybe even practice those targeted, skill sets that you've learned from Whitney, hopefully, if you join her for the workshop on our job board.
Exactly. I mean, we have nearly 307,000 active job listings right now on our job board, completely free to apply to. And these are organizations, companies, partners that want the military community on their team. They have hiring initiatives specifically for members of the military community, spouses, dependents. They know what the military community brings to the table and they want it and they want you. So please take advantage of these nearly 307,000 free job listings for you to view out there, not only nationwide, coast to coast, but also overseas positions. So we got a little something for everyone, I promise.
Absolutely, we do. And then the last one is just industry mentors, right? Where are you gonna find someone that you can relate to that's also going to be in the industry that you're trying to either break into or kind of get a better feel for while you're in it. And our partnerships with ACP, American Corporate Partners, and Veterati, those are 2 big resources that I use myself, and they were very instrumental in my transition process. Again, shout out to Lauren with Hearst Media. Definitely changed my outlook and the way I thought about just my transitioning experience.
Perfect. Yeah. I mean, again, can never stress enough how much a mentor can change your entire projection in your transition and in your career as you progress, as you change different career fields and industries. Having a mentor is crucial. So it looks like we're a few minutes out from wrapping it up. If there are any questions that anyone has that we may not have generally touched on, or anything, that we will be supplying a lot of the links that we received from Whitney, free resources. These are things that will help you take your resume from 0 to 100. So we'll be dropping all those links to free resources in the chat. But please, if there are any questions that we didn't touch or any answers that we didn't supply, or to any questions that you may have, please feel free to drop those in the chat and we will be answering them throughout the day.
Absolutely. And if they're resume specific, like to your targeted resume that maybe you're working on right now, hey, send it over and we'll make sure if you hop on to that webinar with Whitney, we'll make sure she sees it. But thank you all again. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in there, whether they're resume related or something about what we covered today.
Again, thank you all for joining us for our second Recruit Military Live co-hosting together. Again, I'm Gabby Petticrew.
I'm Raul Torres.
And we'll see you next time.